I made 8 figures selling high-ticket programs from my YouTube channel, and over the last few years, I've helped hundreds of people use the exact same system to grow their business with about a 90% success rate. So in this deep dive, and we're going deep, I'm going to show you how to come up with and build and launch a high-ticket program that has the potential to get you to $100,000 a month. You are going to learn how to work out who your perfect buyer is, how to craft promotion that gets them excited to buy it. You're going to discover how to fill your marketing with proof of results so that sales get easier and easier every time you run it. And you're going to learn how to update your channel's content strategy to one that generates buyers, not just viewers. Using this system, I've helped people hit 60K in just 6 weeks. This example got to 100K months in 120 days. So I'm very excited to share this with you. So first, let's just quickly start with what is a high-ticket program, just so we're on the same page. A high-ticket program that I'm going to show you how to build is basically a group coaching offer where you take people through a process to solve a specific problem. Now, my first program helped people grow YouTube channels, and it had 1 live Q&A call a week. It had video training and a chat room for questions, and that was kind of it. And it used to take me about 3 to 4 hours a week to run, with 2 part-time team members doing 1 hour a day each, and it made 7 figures in a year. So the cool thing about this is they don't have to take up a ton of your time. But the best thing about these things is how easy they are to get you to 100K a month compared to pretty much anything else out there. Because you only need 10 people to give you 10K, or 20 people to give you 5, or 34 people to give you 3K to hit that 6-figure month, rather than 1,000 giving you 100, which is actually significantly harder to do. All right, so before I show you exactly how to build and launch one, we need to answer one question first. Are you actually ready for this? Because the results I showed you on the screen, they only happened because they had certain things in place already. You don't just magically whip one of these up and make that lovely internet money. So what are those things? Well, when businesses apply to work with me, there are probably about 10 to 15 things that I look at to judge whether they are ready to get a fast win. I'm going to give you 5 of them, which I think are the most important. So the first is your niche. Really, you want to be in the health, wealth, or relationship space because people will pay a lot of money to solve those painful problems or raise their own status. Now, the other niches that we've had amazing results with are niches that are made up of serious hobbyists. So these are people who are obsessed with what they do, and they will spend a lot of money on getting better at it. So some of our biggest wins have come from music channels, people who teach drums, guitar, photography, and art. The next thing I look at are the comments. So first, I have a look at, do people clearly love this creator? Because your fans will be very excited to buy your program. And then second, I look at how many comments does a new video get for them in the first 24 to 48 hours. So a 1 to 3% comment to view ratio is usually a very strong sign your audience trusts you. And then after that, we look at their email list. Really, I want to see at least 3,000 subscribers with around a 40% open rate every week they send an email. That tells me people genuinely want to hear from you, and it gives us a very fast way to promote the offer when we launch it. And then I look at their existing sales. So if you're already making around $25,000 a month selling lower priced products, or maybe one-to-one consulting, that's a fantastic sign because you've already proved people trust you to give you money, and it's very likely that those buyers will be the first to jump into your program too. And then after that, I check out traffic. So if I can see that there's a healthy number of people clicking through to their sales page every month, that's buyer intent, and we can harness that. And then finally, I look at monthly return viewers on their channel. Honestly, I would much rather see a channel getting 3,000 views every video than one doing 200,000 views and then the rest jumping around between lower numbers. From my experience, the strongest businesses don't grow the fastest. Instead, they have incredibly loyal audiences that come back over and over again. Don't worry if you don't tick every one of these boxes yet. You don't have to be making 25K to start. I'm going to show you. You can be making 0. And if you didn't tick any at all, do keep watching because I know what I'm about to show you would have saved me years of growing my own business. Okay, so that was phase 1, working out if you're ready. Phase 2 is the most important part of getting your high ticket offer to $100,000 a month. And sadly, I think it's the most ignored and the biggest reason people fail because they never actually create an offer that can make them big money because they procrastinate and they worry, well, what if it doesn't work? And then they keep putting off launching it and they stay exactly where they are, which was where I was years ago. I was terrified when I thought about selling something that might be more expensive, but I've launched maybe 8, 9 or 10 of my own offers over the last 5 years now using this exact system. And what I found is so long as you pick a date where you're gonna launch a new offer and just announce it publicly, you get everything launched by that day and you will stop procrastinating. You'll move faster and you will get it built. So pick a date to open sales. And what I've started to recommend to clients is you can pick 30 days from now, but it's going to be a pretty intense journey building everything. 6 weeks from now, it's intense, but more comfortable. So that's what I'm often recommended. But really, don't pick a date that is more than 2 months out. You'll just end up giving yourself longer than you need and you will waste more time. So now with your date, we move on to step 2, which is so important. We will literally build every single thing we do around this. And if you mess this up, it's going to wreck your launch. And when I looked at all of my clients that have absolutely crushed it, they all took this very seriously. So here's how this works. So a client came to me and they wanted to make a productivity program that would help people organize their minds and become more productive and reduce overwhelm. Sounds like a good idea, but I said to them, what you need to do is you need to send out a bunch of surveys to your existing viewers and then you need to get them on calls. And then what you need to do is ask questions around trying to find out what their biggest problems that they're actually facing are. And what came out of these calls completely changed the direction of their program. And their channel started landing $5,000 sales because of it. Because from these sales calls and these surveys, they could suddenly see that a huge percentage of their audience worked in high-pressure tech jobs at companies like Apple and Google and Facebook, and they weren't looking for another productivity course. What they actually wanted was a way to stay on top of an incredibly demanding career without letting the rest of their life fall apart, and a system to help them cope with the pressure whilst keeping them productive. So the program that was supposed to be productivity systems for anyone became about helping ambitious tech professionals organize their work, their family, and their personal life in a way that actually reduced their stress and pressure that they were living with every single day. This one step gave them extreme clarity on who they were going to help and what the big problem these people would pay over $5,000 to solve. And as a result, they sold out. So before you build anything, you have to work out what the top problems your audience will actually pay money to solve. And you do that by sending a survey to your audience and asking people to book in a quick Zoom call. That's it. Then on the call, you ask them questions about their biggest problems. And by the end of this step, all you want is a bunch of surveys and a bunch of calls, and then you examine them to establish the top 3 big problems your audience actually cares about, the things they will pay thousands to eliminate. Then all you need to do is just write them down in a list and draw a triangle around them like this. And in the next step, we're going to add one more thing to this triangle, and it's going to give you the most powerful marketing tool you've ever had. All right, so let's move on to step 3. Now, what you need to realize here is every buyer tells themselves stories that stops them from buying your thing. These are what we call false beliefs. And if your offer and your marketing and your YouTube content doesn't crush them, people will not buy from you. But how do you work out what a false belief is so that you can crush it? Well, when I had a sales team, I used to constantly ask them, what are the top reasons people say they don't need my service? And for us, it was nearly always some version of, well, I don't need to buy this because I can figure it out on my own. Or, well, I don't think it will work in my niche. Or, well, you need a big channel for it to work first. So once we knew those false beliefs, I updated the testimonials on my site to directly challenge them in the way that I'm going to show you later. I made sure my case studies showed new channels getting tractions. I started coming up with ways to show all kinds of niches getting success and dropping that into my YouTube content. Basically, every piece of marketing I created from that point on either solved one of the problems in the middle of the triangle or broke one of these false beliefs. Now, if you're new and you don't have a sales team or take sales calls, don't worry, this will still work. All you need to do to get this information is go to your surveys that you did in the step before. So when you speak to viewers, you want to ask them things like, have you ever bought anything to help you solve this problem before? Or what stopped you buying programs to help you solve this in the past? But one thing I have noticed after doing this for years with clients is we nearly always find the same 2 false beliefs, which are, this won't work for someone like me in my situation, or I can probably figure this out on my own. So if you're struggling to find what they are, I'd probably just get started with these 2, just put one on each corner of the triangle like this. And now, whenever we build anything, the offer, write the headline, create the sales page, write emails, or even make YouTube videos, we're going to come back to this framework and ask if what we are creating solves one or more of the problems, or breaks one or more of these false beliefs. If it doesn't, You have to fix that. And if you're still not 100% sure on how to use this, don't worry. I'm going to be giving you tons of examples as we go on. So let's move on to step 4. And this is where we turn everything we just discovered into an offer where the value clearly outweighs the price they're paying, so that they would be stupid not buying it. And the easiest way to show you how to do this is to build an offer together. So I want you to imagine that we have a YouTube channel that is helping people land high-paying tech jobs. After sending out surveys and interviewing their audience and making their own little triangle, this is what they came up with. The 3 big problems the audience wanted solving were getting interviews without applying to hundreds of jobs, working out how to stand out amongst thousands of other applications, turning interviews into job offers. But they also uncovered these 3 false beliefs. The first was, I don't have the experience or degree these companies are looking for. The second was, the job market is so bad right now, nothing I do will make any difference. And the third was, I can figure this out on my own. So let's use this triangle to build an offer people would happily pay thousands of dollars for. Now, all you have to do is fill out the free tool I've made for you below this video. It's going to take all of the information you put in, and it's going to create an offer statement, as well as give you some ideas as to how to deliver your program in the best way for your ideal buyers. So instead of copying what everyone else is doing, you do want to ask yourself, which delivery style gives my buyer the best chance of solving these problems and breaking these false beliefs? So you can see here it says land a better paid tech job without hundreds of applications or tons of interviews. And then it says target suitable roles, show employers why your experience matters, and improve each interview. And then it'll basically just break down the offer and the big idea behind it here. Just keep in mind, the quality of your answer massively impacts the quality of the output. So be specific, not vague. Then, once you have your offer and your delivery style looked in, we move on to pricing, and this one decision can be the difference between a 50K month and a 100K month. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, well, what if people think this is too expensive? I was terrified of putting my price up to make this sort of money for years, but here's what I learned that kind of helped me get over this. To the right buyer, almost nothing feels expensive if you treat your marketing like this set of scales. So think of pricing like a set of scales. One side is your price, the other is the outcome you deliver. Your only job is to make the outcome side so heavy that its value outweighs the cost. So if we'd ignored our surveys and not created an offer triangle and just decided to make a CV writing program and charged 5K for it, that will feel expensive to our viewers because nobody on our calls said, I need help writing a CV. So it will always feel expensive. But the offer we're actually going to build for our demo will help people land their dream job without applying to hundreds of companies. And if that job pays an extra 20K a year for the next 10 years, you can see the value massively outweighs the cost, meaning $5,000 feels cheap. And this works even when your offer doesn't make people money directly. For example, one client charges $20,000 for a photography program because their buyers don't want better photos. They want to win awards. Others I've helped have charged thousands teaching instruments because their viewers want to play at their daughter's wedding. So to the right person, those outcomes massively outweigh the cost. So if people keep telling your offer is expensive, it's really the price. It's either that you didn't build around something they actually cared about, or you're attracting entirely the wrong buyers, which is exactly why your YouTube content strategy, which I'm going to show you in a minute, matters so much. So for your first launch, don't overthink the price. Take your best guess at what the outcome is and open at a founding member rate. If your long-term goal is 5K, you can start at just 3K. Discounting like this rewards your most loyal viewers, the fans who turn up every week. It creates urgency, and honestly, it just makes it easier for you mentally. It took me 9 months to feel comfortable moving from selling something for $3,000 to $5,000. Even though everyone was telling me to put my price up, I just couldn't do it. However, once I started getting people results, raising the price, it felt kind of easy. All right, congratulations, you've now finished phase 2, crafting the offer. Now we move on to phase 3, building the promotion. Because having an incredible offer isn't enough. People have to instantly understand why it's valuable, meaning every email or YouTube video or bit of copy that you write has to make it obvious that you solve those 3 problems and remove those false beliefs on your triangle. And the first place most people get this wrong is the headline and subheadline at the top of the sales page. So let me just show you what I mean. So we had one client recently follow almost this entire process step by step. Like I said earlier, our win rate's about 90%. But a couple of days into the launch, we'd made hardly any sales. Instead, all we had were emails saying this is too expensive. Now, I know that when people say something's too expensive, it usually means either the wrong people saw the offer or the sales page isn't communicating the value enough. So I asked myself, who is the page actually speaking to? And I spotted the problem almost straight away. The subheadline and headline promised helping musicians play with more creative freedom. Now, that sounds good if you're a decent musician and you actually know what creative freedom is, but beginners, they don't wake up wanting to play with creative freedom. They don't even know what it means. They want to sit down at a piano in a hotel and play any song and have everyone stare at them and go, ooh, he's good. They just want to get good quick so they don't suck and embarrass themselves. So the headline and subheadline was using language that appealed to intermediate musicians when we really had an audience of beginners. So we wrote it based on that. And the next day, I think we made 9 sales. It really is that powerful. So how do you stop making this mistake yourself? Because even the pros can make it sometimes. Well, first, you need to understand the job of a headline and subheadline. So your headline just needs to stop the right person and make them think, this is exactly what I need. It's there to basically grab attention of the perfect buyer and then make them read the line below, the subheadline. Now, the subheadline's job is kind of to explain what your program actually does and who it's for and why it works, so they want to keep reading the rest of the page. So let's go back to our demo, and we're going to make a headline and subheadline together. Now, the biggest problem we uncovered during the research was that people wanted to land their dream tech job without applying to hundreds of companies. So instead of trying to be clever, we could have a headline like this: land your dream tech job without applying to hundreds of companies. I mean, it's kind of simple, right? It speaks directly to their biggest problem that they told us. Now we can look at the subheadline. So one of the biggest false beliefs we uncovered was, I don't have the experience or the degree that companies are looking for. So we could start breaking that false belief with something like a proven coaching program that helps ambitious tech professionals identify the right opportunities, build an application that's impossible to ignore, and confidently turn interviews into job offers, even if you don't have a computer science degree. Now, these are rough. I would spend a lot of time on these if I was doing it properly, because they are so important. But notice what we've done. The headline is based on the biggest problem our audience told us they wanted solving, and the subheadline just describes the program, and it's starting to remove one of their false beliefs. So every time you write a headline or subline, come back to your triangle and ask, am I leading one of the biggest problems? Am I starting to break a belief? If the answer is no, keep writing till you do. Now, after you've got your headline and your subheadline, you need the rest of your sales page. But I can't spend the next 4 hours teaching you how to write a sales page, because that's a course in itself. Instead, I'm going to give you 5 questions a great sales page answers. The first is this for me? So the right person needs to immediately see themselves in your copy on the page. So you wouldn't say, land your dream job. You would say, we help ambitious tech professionals land high-paying roles without applying to hundreds of companies. The second question is, do you actually understand my problem? So this is where all of the research you've done pays off, because you just use the exact language people use in your surveys and Zoom calls. So instead of saying, finding a tech job is difficult, say something like, you've spent months sending applications and sat through interview after interview, and you're starting to wonder if anyone has even looked at your CV. Or maybe someone on your Zoom call said, I'm sick of wasting every evening just applying to jobs I never hear back from. If that's the case, use that on your page, because when people read the words they've already been saying in their own heads, they think, this person actually gets me. Now, the third question is, can you actually solve this? This isn't where you explain every lesson that's inside your program. It's where you explain why your approach is different from anything else they might have already tried. So instead of saying, we are going to help you get a better job, you might say, instead of sending hundreds of applications and hoping one sticks, we're going to help you identify the right companies, build an application that gets noticed, and master the interview process so you only apply for the jobs you actually want. So you notice what we're doing here? We are starting to break false beliefs that they have to keep doing what they've always done. And then the fourth question is, what do I actually get? All you need to do is kind of explain what's included. So the training, the coaching, the templates, support, whatever you've decided is the best way to help deliver this program and get your buyer the outcome they hope for. And then finally, you also want to answer the question, why should I act now, today? And ideally, you want to give people a genuine reason not to wait to buy the thing tomorrow, like a founding member price or space is closing soon. So if your sales page answers those 5 questions while talking about the biggest problem your audience wants to solve, and it breaks those false beliefs stopping them from buying, you're already ahead of most people. But don't open your sales just because you've made your page. We're not ready yet, because this is where a lot of people make a very big mistake, and they just publish their page and then they go, why is no one buying? Instead, what we need to do is create some hype. And we're going to build a wait list of hot people so that when you do launch, it sells out. So right now, all you need to do is on your sales page, put this near a form. Be the first to know when application's open. Then what we want to do is what a client recently did, and it sold out their program straight away, is put this sales page link absolutely everywhere. So put it under the highest performing YouTube videos, put it on your about page, put it in the PS of every email you send, promote it on your community tab, basically slap it everywhere that you can get attention to get people on that page and hopefully joining your waitlist. So when my client did this, by the time they opened sales, they had 800 people waiting for 20 spaces. You do the maths. Then, once your waitlist is live, your content strategy is the next thing you need to update to. And this is something that a lot of people really neglect, and then they wonder why their sales is low. So when you have a program, you are no longer making content just to get views. Your main objection is to fill the waitlist with the type of people who would massively value solving those 3 problems in your triangle. So from now on, every piece of YouTube content you make should do 1 or 2 things. Firstly, it should either solve one of the 3 biggest problems your viewers care about solving in the middle of your triangle. Secondly, it should break one of the 3 biggest false beliefs that stops them from buying. If it doesn't do at least one of those 2 things, I would question why you're making it. This change in thinking is what took my own business from 2 million in a year to 5 million a year. And when you have tracking set up and can literally see the sales this type of content makes, you get addicted to repeating this process. Then the next thing every piece of content needs is proof. So every video I've made that has generated serious income has had proof deliberately baked into it. Sometimes it's things like, okay, this next step was the main reason my client made $100,000 recently. It can be subtle and fast, but it tells people, firstly, you can get results, and secondly, that you probably have something that could help that viewer too. So every time I'm writing a video, I'm thinking, what client story or case study or proof can I put into this to support the points I'm making, like I have done throughout this entire video? And the final thing that you need to change is the type of content you make. So one of the biggest discoveries we've made after tracking over 1 billion views with RevTrack was that mistakes videos and listicles don't generate sales. I'll make sure I link to that video at the end of this one. But really, the videos that generated the most buyers were the ones where I simply did what I do every day behind the scenes of my clients. So for example, coaching someone through a real problem in a video generated amazing sales, or reviewing viewers' works, or building a system and showing people exactly how I'd solve their challenge, like I'm doing right now. I've got someone in my eye there. Oh, must have been a bug. So your strategy needs to have some coaching in now, where you get someone on your channel and show them how to solve the problem. I'd recommend live streams where you help people solve the problem live. Okay, now on to the final part. And we need to avoid your launch from being a big flop. So here's how we're going to do that. YouTube is amazing at warming people up and making them trust you, but it is not the best way to make very fast sales. So what you need to do is you need to write up some emails that you are going to send to your waitlist the week you launch. And I'd recommend 1 a day over a 7-day period. Now, this entire launch sequence, it's a whole video in itself. So I'm not going to give you that because it's going to blow your mind too much. But I will give you the foundations of what every email needs to include to get this to work. And to do that, you guessed it, we're going to go back to our triangle. And every email should do one of these things. Either remind people of one of the biggest problems they want solving, break one of the false beliefs, stopping them from buying your thing, or prove that your program actually works, which will probably break a false belief too. That's kind of it. So before you write an email, don't ask, what should I send today? Ask, which problems am I solving? Or which false beliefs am I breaking? And then support it with a story of a client result or a case study or something you've seen and experienced for yourself. And by the time someone reaches your sales page, if you do this for 7 days in a row, they're going to be thinking, who is this superhero solving my problem? How do I give him my money? All right, so that completes. Now we move on to building your actual program in a way that's faster and easier, and I didn't do. See, when I built my first high-ticket program, I did what I thought you had to do: film everything, spend months writing it, edit it, and make it look amazing. And then I ran it for 18 months, and I realized, oh man, I need to make so many changes, and we have to rebuild this whole thing. So I spent a year rebuilding the thing, locked myself in a room. It was awful. barely left. Then I rebuilt it again. And I locked myself in a room again. I look like an animal. And if you look at my Stripe during these periods, you can see what happened, right? Every time I had to build the thing, I couldn't sell the thing because it was just so much work. So money fell off a cliff. So really, unless, like me, you are a complete glutton for punishment and you like locking yourself in a room for months at a time, what you should actually do is what I tell my clients to do: launch live first. So what you want to do is you want to start with a rough outline of your program's spine. So you don't need to plan every lesson out in depth. So the way you do that is you ask, how do I get my clients the result I've now promised in my marketing? And what is the least amount of steps I could give them to get there? Those steps become your weekly sessions that you put on. So before you launch, you only really need week 1. And then after that, you can build week 2 and week 3 based on what you've learned. You might learn something in week 2 that makes you pivot and go, do you know what, I'll change week 3 now. And that's what makes this kind of powerful. Then what you do is the next time you run it, you take what you learn each week into consideration and you adjust it and you start answering the questions that got missed, or you improve the areas of confusion. So by the time you've done this 3 or 4 times over, it's 10 times better, without having to lock yourself in a room for 3 years like I did. All right, so now you've planned your program. The cool thing is, you've pretty much done all the work. We are ready to launch, and because you set a date, like I told you to in step 1, you actually got this thing out on time. Good for you. Now, we're gonna sell this thing out, and this is where the internet gets a bit weird, because everyone seems to hate sales calls right now. You don't wanna take them. We're told buyers don't want to go on them either. It's very hard to manage a sales team, and it's very easy to get your attention by telling you, here's how to make money online without a sales call. I literally tell clients to use that exact phrasing in their titles if they want more views, because guess what? The people who are telling you you don't need to take sales calls, guess what's one of the top 3 problems in their triangle? See how this game works? But the truth is, every option, sales calls, webinars, DMs, a buy now button, they can all work. So the question isn't which one is better, it's which one are you right for in your current position today? And to help you work that out, I'm just going to give you the pros and cons of each option as I have tried them all. So for a while, I sold purely through application. There was no call. You would fill out a form, and if I thought you were the right fit, I would send you a link to buy, and people bought, and it sold out easily. The dream, right? Low effort sales. And in fact, I was selling things up to $7,000 that way. But the truth is, it only worked because back then I was getting 100,000 views on each video. I had 18 months of trust built up from posting consistently, and I only offered 20 spaces. And I would get 200 applications a day. So I could be that lazy and that picky because I knew the thing would sell out. Without that volume and that level of hot audience, it just wouldn't have happened. So the pro is, just this sort of application, no sales calls method is easy. The con is, you need a very large hot audience who is dying to work with you in the first place. So eventually I switched to sales calls because Andrew Kirby, this guy, he told me I would make 4 times more money if I did. And he was wrong. I went from making 60K a month to making just under $1 million in a month because I had sales calls in place. But the biggest pro, it wasn't actually the extra money. It was everything else that the call gave us. So first, protection. Now, this used to bug the heck out of people, but every now and then I'd get an email or a message or a DM from someone saying, Ed, can you just let me buy your program without a call? I got the money, I'll do it now. And for a while I let them. And who would be the problem clients? Email me saying, oh, I thought this was something different because I hadn't really read anything or paid much attention. Those people. So after this happened quite a few times, I just made it a rule that no matter who inquired, I would push them to a call because I wanted our conversation recorded. So on the rare occasion, someone claimed that we had promised them something different to what they got, we would look at the recording and then we would send it to them and they'd usually go, oh yeah, you're right, you did say that, don't worry about it. So I'm pretty sure this is the same reason Alex Hormozy has them for his workshop. I tried to buy instantly and they said no. They forced me through a half-an-hour process, probably because they're protecting themselves. Now the second benefit was it got us much better clients because not everyone who wants to buy is someone you can actually help. And if you let in the wrong people, it kind of wrecks your program. Now, you can do this through type forms and surveys, but it's not as accurate. So sales calls let us qualify people more, and often we told a lot of people not to join yet, which meant we got happier clients and we got better results and a few headaches. And then third was the market research. This is the biggest one, I think. You are basically running the same surveys that you did at the start of the system over and over again. That means you learn so much about your viewers, your buyers, their objections, the questions they have, the problems they actually care about. And then you can take all that information and you can put it into YouTube videos and your marketing and your sales, meaning every launch will get better than the last. Now, the downside is they are time consuming. You either do them yourself and you build a team, both are time consuming. Also, the other downside is some people just don't want them. And I'm one of those people, if I'm honest. And then, of course, there's the big downside in that, well, we don't want to sell, right? There's very few people who enjoy it. It makes us feel a bit icky. So it doesn't feel that fun to start. So to me, really, sales calls are like giving a kid broccoli. They don't want to eat that stuff, but they need it because they won't grow big and strong if they don't have it. And then the other option we have is webinars. Now, every time I've run a webinar, which is basically a live event teaching stuff, I've made 6 figures, and I've got clients who have done multiple 6 figures from a single event. But you kind of have to earn the right to webinars because they work best when you have client wins to share in them, or you have stories to tell about how you achieved the result your buyers want. Because in its simplest form, a webinar is just 3 stories where you show how you solved those 3 problems in the middle of your triangle, breaking those 3 false beliefs at the same time. And without stories that can do that, it's probably not going to be as effective. So here's my recommendation I give to people. If this is your first high ticket program, just do sales calls. It's gonna suck to start. It's gonna feel a bit chaotic. You won't like it, but they'll protect you. They're gonna help you qualify your buyers. You're gonna learn a lot, and you're gonna make your marketing better over the long run. Then after your first program, when you have some proof and some wins, we can bring in webinars where we just tell those stories, if you like. Which brings us on to the next step, which will sell out your next program and the next way faster the more you run it. And it's a 2-minute job. So what most people do is they sell out and then they celebrate and then they do absolutely no more selling until their next launch, which means every launch they're kind of starting from zero. Do not do that. The moment your program sells out is one of your best marketing moments you are ever going to have. And I learned this completely by mistake. One time after we sold out, I just emailed my list as a courtesy saying, look, we've sold out now. And then I just said, if you want to get on the list for next time, here's the link. And 100 people within the first 24 hours were on the wait list. And I thought, I should do that every time. And I did. And 100 people every time joined. So as soon as you sell out, go back to your sales page, swap the application form to a wait list, and then email your audience and tell them the program's full and that they need to join the wait list. And then just keep making videos in the style I told you. Make sure you always link to this page and build the wait list over the next 90 days or so that when you open, you're ready for sales. All right, so now we have one of the most important parts of your promotion. I obsessed over this, and it made sales so much easier, even though our price kept going up and up and up. And I realized its power a few years ago when someone emailed me and they said, Ed, I really like you and I want to do your program, but the other person who I don't actually like, they just have so much proof of results on their sales page. So they actually went with the other person who they didn't like. And that's when I realized proof can overpower likability. And I thought, well, I need to make sure that my sales page ends up with more proof than them, so that the competition look at both of us and then go to them and say, well, Ed's got more proof than you. So I did. I got as many screenshots and videos and testimonials on my sales page as I could. I had 400 wins on it. It was annoying to scroll past, but sales just got easier the more we had it. But not only that, in my videos, I was using all the time too. I was saying, look, we took this person to 100K a month, like I'm doing right now. And then I showed the proof, like I've done in this video so many times. So every bit of communication, I made it my mission to find ways to include proof that broke objections of my target audience, as well as showed them how I could solve the problem in the middle. But how do you get this? Well, when your first program ends, book every single client onto a short one-to-one debrief call. The purpose of the call isn't actually to get a testimonial, it's to improve the program. And then you ask them questions to find out what worked for them, like where they got stuck, like what would they change? How could you make this even better? And then right at the end, you ask, would you mind if I asked you a couple more questions and recorded the answers? I'd love to use them as testimonials on my site. And most people are going to say yes. If they say no, don't do it. After that, this is where you need to get smart. You don't say, can you tell me what you liked? What you do is you get your triangle out again, and you think about the 3 biggest problems your audience wants solving, and you think about the 3 biggest false beliefs stopping them from buying, and you reverse engineer your questions to show people you can solve those problems and to break those false beliefs. So if one of the biggest false beliefs is, I could have figured this out on my own, all you ask is, how long do you think this would have taken to figure out on your own? If one of the biggest problems was, well, applying to hundreds of companies without getting interviews, ask what changed after you joined. And that's all testimonials need to do. So you're not really collecting testimonials, you are collecting proof. Proves you can solve problems and breaks false beliefs. Meaning eventually you are no longer convincing people your system works, your customers do it for you. And that is when every launch becomes easier than selling the last one. But if you're selling 20 spaces at 5K a pop, that's not 100K a month if the thing lasts 90 days. That's 100K every 90 days. So how do you go from 100K every 90 days to 100K a month? Well, here is the mistake that I see a lot of people make. They think this is simply a case of taking the exact same strategy that they've been running every 90 days and then just doing it every month instead. But it isn't, because the gap between making 100K every quarter and making 100K every month is not the amount of time, it's the system that you have built. So if you open every month before your system is ready, you're going to be trying to deliver clients, you're going to be creating content, you're going to be generating leads, you're going to be doing sales calls, and you're going to be trying to improve the program at the same time. So you put too much pressure on yourself to do that every single month. And as a result, if you do it too early, you won't be able to post videos and everything will slow down. Meaning the goal here is not to launch every month. It's actually just to build a system so good that launching every month becomes easy. And that's exactly what happened to me. So when I finally moved to monthly enrollment, the system I built was strong enough so that the waitlist just filled itself every month. My content was consistently attracting the right buyers who were kind of easy to convert. I had tons of testimonials that were breaking objections before people got on the sales call. And the program had been refined over multiple cohorts so the delivery system could handle way more people coming in. So switching to monthly wasn't what made me break past 100K a month. Switching to monthly was the reward for building the system that could first. So how do you know when you're ready? Well, it's actually very simple. If you can consistently fill your waitlist every launch and your content keeps bringing in the right buyers, your testimonials answer most of the objections before people speak to you, and your program consistently gets people results, you're probably ready and at that point. And you can charge 20 people a month 5K or 10 people a month 10. The thing is, these are just some of the things that can help you turn your viewers into buyers. There's actually way more, like using emojis. So if you want to see what we learned when we tracked sales from 1 billion YouTube views of RevTrack to see what turned viewers to buyers, watch this video next, and I'm going to give you the titles, the topics, and the tricks to make more from your content.